Hello and welcome to WTF, where we help you transform food in your kitchen. I'm Janie.
I'm Roman.
And on this channel, we talk about unique ingredients, techniques, and show you new recipes for your kitchen. And this week, we are doing one of our recipe review episodes where we'll be reviewing ChefSteps corn tortilla recipe from scratch. And the reason kind of why we're interested in doing that, Roman, what struck you about this recipe where you were like, hey, let's do a recipe review here?
Well, the first time I saw this on ChefSteps.com, I was like, oh, that's an interesting way to make tortillas, because I've always made tortillas in the past at the restaurant where we would nixtamalize the corn, but then we would go right from the nixtamalized corn and we would try to grind that up and make the tortillas from that alone. This process is a bit different. They do nixtamalize the corn, but they blend it in the blender with water, and then they mix it with masa, which I've never ever seen before. But to me, when I was doing it, I was kind of shocked, because I had made, tortillas, fresh tortillas before, and it was always like hit or miss. They'd come out good sometimes, they'd be too dry, it'd be too wet, and I wouldn't be able to bang out the tortillas. This is almost foolproof. Like, anyone can do this. Like, absolutely anyone can do this. Like, when I did it, I was like shocked at how easy it was. Super easy. I mean, the recipe is fast. It's I would say it's on the scale of hard to difficult. It's somewhere in between intermediate and easy.
I like how you said hard to difficult. You're like from the scale from hard to difficult.
From easy to difficult, I would say it's on the lower end. It's a lot easier than it would be if you were doing this like the traditional way. This method is really awesome, to be honest with you.
And I want you to jump into it, but before we do, for people who are not familiar, can you just talk real briefly about what is nixtamalization? I can't even say it. Nixtamalization. Yeah, what is it?
It's a process where you use an alkaline solution you cook the corn, or actually it's grain or maize in this case, and then you can hull it. That's the process. Makes it a lot easier to work with it.
All right.
So that's what we're going to be doing here.
Cool.
Okay, let's get started. Why don't we?
All right.
All right. So we have our dry corn, and we have our calcium hydroxide and our waters. Super simple. You get your corn in there, your water just enough to cover it, and then your calcium hydroxide.
So now normally we have Roman doing everything live on camera when we do a recipe review from scratch, and this one we did a little bit differently just because it required a lengthier soaking time and stuff. Exactly. So we couldn't quite do it live, but we are doing all the steps.
All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna bring this up to a boil, and then we're gonna drop it down to a low simmer, and then we're gonna let that cook for about 30 minutes, 35 minutes. What we're looking for is kind of like the texture of risotto, where it has like kind of like that give a little bit, but this we want to be just a little bit harder than risotto. And so what we're gonna do is after 30 minutes, I'm gonna take a corn out, a grain, and I'm gonna cut into it and see if we've reached the texture that we want it to be.
Okay.
All right, so now we're gonna cut into this to see if we got the proper texture of it.
All right, what is the texture that we're looking for here?
So we're looking for almost, like I said earlier, kind of like a risotto type texture. So you want it, when you're cutting into the grain, you want it to have a little bit of give, but not too much, and then you want to be able to cut right through it. And then you'll see, like, I don't know if you guys can see with me, but probably not. But there's this little tiny white center in here, where so it's not cooked all the way, because you don't want it cooked all the way, because then it'll just be mush.
Okay.
All right. You want some body to it.
Cool. What do we do with it now?
All right. So now that's done, we're gonna let that sit overnight, and then you drain it. So now you want to soak this in some water. After it has sat overnight, you drain out the excess liquid with the calcium hydroxide, and then you just agitate a little bit in some of this fresh water, because you want to just get some of that excess calcium hydroxide off of the grains. So once you're done with that, you'll have this guy right here, and we will begin the process of blending this with water to get to where we need to be.
Okay, sounds good. All right, we're gonna keep going with this recipe, but first I want to remind you to please subscribe, like, and also hit that notification button. So that's what tells the algorithm that you want to see more videos like this, where we are developing new recipes or showcasing other new recipes that we found that we think are really cool that you can use in your kitchen. So one question that I had, Roman, before we even blitzed this is, a bunch of years ago we did a similar recipe, but in that recipe, after we did this process, we hulled all the corn, and in this case, we're not hulling the corn at all. Why is that?
Exactly. I'm glad you asked that question because normally that's what nixtamalization is part of that, is hulling it. But in this process, as they suggested in ChefSteps, we use the hull as kind of a binder. So when you're soaking it, make sure not to get rid of that hull too much because as you're agitating it will release itself. But you kind of want to keep as much as you can because that'll almost act like a hydrocolloid and hold everything together, which is pretty
really
awesome, I thought.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to blend this. Now we're using 80% water of the weight of the corn. Drop about half of that into it and start blending. All right, what you're looking for is to form a vortex so that we know it's free flowing. So we're not exactly there yet, but it's pretty close. And give it about 2-3 more minutes. Okay, now we're gonna blend our corn mix with the masa harina.
Okay, and what is masa harina?
Masa harina is nixtamalized corn that has been dehydrated and then turned into a flour.
Okay. So looks like this is the one that you got. Why did you get this one? This is King Arthur's.
I got King Arthur's organic superfine masa harina, and I got this one because this is the one they use in the ChefSteps video, and they recommended it because it's high quality.
Yeah, one thing that I noticed when I saw you setting up was that the flour in here, it is like super fine. Usually I think about it more like cornmeal.
Exactly,
right?
Exactly,
Okay.
and that makes a difference when you're pressing your tortillas or you're making your oops. All right. So this will come together almost like a dough, and it'll start pulling itself off the sides of the bowl, and that's what you're looking for. We're gonna test it. You don't want it to be too sticky. Also, you don't want it to be too dry.
All
So we'll test it and we'll show you what we're looking for when we do it.
Perfect.
And I'm gonna stop it, and I'm just gonna scrape some of that masa down into the bowl. I didn't mention earlier, but you want to add about 15% masa harina in weight to the relative weight of the mix.
Okay. You can get the full recipe in the link in the description below.
All right, kind of. Yeah, that's probably about exactly where we want it. As you can see, like I can roll it up. It won't stick to my hand, but it'll hold itself. And you kind of want to do that a couple of times, and then you know you're about ready to go. So that's about ready. That's about exactly where we want it.
Okay, almost like a little Play-Doh-y.
And we're gonna roll this up into about 50 gram balls, and then we'll make our tortillas.
Cool.
We have all of our masas portioned out,
and
so we're gonna make some tortillas, and we're gonna.
So you have taught me the plastic wrap method of pressing.
This is the best way to do it, that I find. And you could reuse these over and over again. And you don't want to push too hard. You kind of want to just naturally go down.
Okay.
Like that. Actually, I actually think that was too much. I think I probably should have went less on that.
Jinxed yourself.
But it's still.
We're gonna go for it.
I'm still gonna try it anyway.
Okay.
And so what you want to do is you kind of want to just peel it off. And this is a little tricky. And I got my hot pan ready, and so you kind of just want to gently lay that down. That actually worked. I'm surprised that worked.
So just a dry pan, no
no oil, no nothing.
Okay.
And then what'll happen is you'll see the sides start to come up a little bit, and that's how you know to pick it up and then flip it over.
Okay. And do you have to make all these right away? Is it time sensitive?
It's not time sensitive. Actually, as I've made this recipe and done it over and over again, you could keep this in the fridge for. I've had mine in the fridge even after I made the masa and rolled up in the balls for up to 2 weeks.
Okay.
And it was still perfectly fine.
I like that.
You see the steam coming up there. You see they're starting to lift. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to kind of flip this pan around, and I'm just going to look under it. And I don't think it's ready yet, so I'm just going to leave it there.
Yeah, most people use spatulas, but he's using his bare hand.
I'm trying to be Jacques Pepin. Let's see. Now, you're looking for some nice color on the bottom of that before you actually flip it over. So while that's going, we will stomp out another. You want to try one? You want to give yourself a
Oh my God.
Give yourself a shot there?
I think the last time I did this, I forgot the plastic wrap and I made a mess.
Yes, I do remember that.
Yeah,
That was
it
great.
was terrible. Okay.
All right, so yep, you just kind of lightly want to, just naturally. You don't want to push it too much.
Okay.
Yeah,
How's that?
Not bad.
Woohoo.
Not bad. Not bad. All right, so we're gonna flip this guy over. Still not really where you want it. You kind of want it to be a little dark, so we're gonna throw it back on there and let it go.
Okay.
I'm actually gonna turn the heat up. I usually do this in a cast iron, and I get it ripping hot
Okay.
before I actually put the tortillas on there. I was a little, quick to do it this time, but normally you want to get your pan really hot before you start making your tortillas.
Cool. All right, so moment of truth. We're gonna
Here we go.
test these tacos. So if you go to the blog, we also have a recipe for pupusas. But for
Ooh, I
today,
love pupusas.
we decided to have the tacos. So I can't wait to try. I've never tried these before, so let's go for it.
All right, let's do it. I love the texture of that tortilla.
That is so good. It's like chewy, but textured,
Yep.
and it's like soft and firm at the same time. So fresh, tons of flavor.
Great flavor. The flavor
Yeah.
that's why I love this recipe so much. The flavor of those tortillas, excellent. It's like as authentic as you can get.
Yeah,
for
super
a tortilla
complex
that you can
compared
make.
to whatever you get in the
Yeah,
grocery store.
yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
So
yeah.
good.
This is really good.
And I really like how easy this recipe was. So get it in the link in the description below.
Yep.
And until next week, from here to Modernist Pantry Test Kitchen, I'm Janie.
I'm Roman.
All right, because it's so small, can you describe the
Yeah,
texture? I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah.
here you go. Okay.
Right.